Welcome back to Sports Talk's Game Breakers here on Prime Video. I am Eitan Levine. As always, I'm joined by Monday Monin himself, Drexton Clemens over here to my right in studio right now. I'll say it. What a freaking booking. Former Ranger Tom Laidlaw, current executive director of my roller hockey league, Tom Smith. They both have a podcast on the NHL network that you guys co-host. Thank you so much for coming in.
You've got to come out of your shell a little bit more. Like you got to.
I know.
You're so shy.
Yeah. People tell me that I'm hiding it in. Tom and Tom, you guys have a podcast now on the NHL network.
Well, no, it's not on the NHL network, but it is out.
It should be. It should be.
It should be. Tell it to hockey.
Maybe soon.
Yeah.
It's called Full Change.
Yeah.
It's available on every podcast platform, wherever you find podcasts. And it's us every Tuesday and Thursday talking to NHL alum. Tom shares his wisdom and his...
I retell stories over and over all the time. That's what I'm told. Yeah.
What's the best story? What's the best story you got?
My best story?
Yeah, best Tom Laidlaw story, because you played for the Rangers, you played for the Kings, you know.
Well, so I'd have to say my best story is the Survivor story, though. Taking a dump on Survivor.
Wait, you were also on Survivor. Let's
Yeah.
talk about that.
Yeah.
What's it like taking a dump on Survivor? I assume that they don't have, like, bathrooms
There's
there.
no bathrooms, no toilet paper, and you go out there.
Finding the right leaf?
Yeah.
The leaves have got all dirt all over them, bugs and everything, so you have to improvise. And you don't think about this until you go on the show.
Okay.
They teach you to do what they call as an aqua bomb. So you go out in the ocean,
Yeah.
and you stand in the ocean and do your business.
Yeah.
Well, now when you're done, it's all floating around the top of the water.
Oh, no.
And now it's waves crashing in, so you're trying to run. Like, you ever try to run in the water? Like it's like slow motion running like this, you're going really slow. So you're trying to run away from your own poop. I wish they had videoed it. It was hilarious. I was dying laughing myself. It was the funniest thing.
Wait, what do you wipe with?
Want me to tell you the truth? Or?
Yeah, well, yeah, tell me the lie and then tell me the
Well, your
truth.
hand.
And what's the lie? You're like Charmin.
Yeah, sorry.
What's the best time to poop? High tide, low tide?
Yeah, what's the deal?
It'd be low tide.
Tom does this in his life now, so don't go on the 5th floor. Look, stay away from
Absolutely destroyed the floor out there.
Wait, how did this podcast, how did you guys come together?
So I met Tom. I was at a clinic in Fritz Dieter Ice Rink in
Yes, the
what
worst
town
rink
in New Jersey?
Westwood, New Jersey.
Westwood,
Yeah,
New
that's
Jersey,
right.
yes. And we met. He begged me to do it. I didn't really like you freaking want to do it, but I said, "Jeez, this tiny little guy, I'll have to help him out." So,
Wow, what the hell?
He's a fantastic man, a great friend of mine now, very creative. So I had other podcasts I was doing with former teammates, but he's now really taken it to more of a professional podcast.
So what's like the wisdom? Because you said that it's wisdom and stories, right? So what's the wisdom that you're getting out of
Well,
that?
we've done about 50 shows so far, and of those 50 shows, we've had 5 guys that have attempted suicide.
Oh.
Drugs and alcohol, mental illness, whatever. So it's really a lot of great. So it's really about growing up playing hockey, playing the game, and then after the game. And those 5 guys, and others as well, have really gone out and helped other kids in particular with a lot of charities they have.
So you were a former hockey player. Like, what is that transition like into civilian life?
And that's exactly what the show is about. That's the gist of it. It's like these guys had everything in their lives. They were celebrated, rightly so. They're the best in the world at something. But then it gets yanked from them.
Yeah.
Now they have to go to Costco and buy their groceries, and they have to book their flights. And like, what happens?
And what Tom's really learned too is that we're a bunch of idiots, really. Like we're
yes.
catered to all the time. We're told how great we are from the time we're 7 years old, and all of a sudden now you're 35 years old and you're retiring from the game and realize, well, I'm really not that great. I'm just a
What is the hardest part about that transition, though? Going from, your face is on every TV to being a civilian. What's the hardest part?
It's a shock because you grow up really believing that you're this great guy that everybody says you are, right? And you're really not. You're just a regular person. You just happen to be very you're happy and that you're successful in a certain sport. So now you've got to go out in the real world. And guys now don't have to get a real job because they've made so much money. When I played, I had to get to work right away. So I started an agent business on my own and started. So I would do things like go to Western Canada and check into a hotel. And there's a company called Laidlaw buses out in Western Canada. So I check in the hotel and my ego was saying, like, they're looking at the ID and they're going, Laidlaw. And I'm hoping they're going to say, are you Tom Laidlaw, a former player? And they go, well, no, are you Tom Laidlaw with the bus company? I played for 11 years in the NHL, but they can't remember.
Can we talk a little bit about Stanley Cup stuff? Just, this series, specifically the Panthers, such bruisers, big fighters and stuff like that. I want to get into the series itself. Before that, if you're looking at the players now that are potentially ending their career after the Stanley Cup, like, what would you be telling someone who gets out of the Stanley Cup, either they win or they lose it, and they know that they're not playing anymore? Like, what are you telling someone?
Well, the first thing is take advantage of who you are right now, because there's a network out there that wants to be around these former athletes. And you've got to do something, right? Even if you got enough money, you don't want to sit around all the time. So you've got to get some kind of a career going. And using that network, and I say using, that's kind of a bad term, but it's really saying, okay, again, people want to be around former
Leverage
athletes.
that network.
Yeah. Especially if they've got something
Like my
off.
little sister's friends. They all want to hang out. They're like, are you an athlete? I don't even know what sport you play, but that's so cool, you know?
Your sister, don't let them hang around with that.
Oh, not at all. All right.
Yeah, keep them away. No, it's get to work right away. I think if guys, again, they've been so busy with teammates all the time, if they sit around and say, I'm going to take a year or two off and do nothing, inevitably guys come back and call on the teams and wanting to get a job, but they don't even want to get paid. They just want to get a job.
So, like, when you're looking at, like, a Tom Brady, who just retired for the 15th time,
Yeah.
Are you looking at him going, like, he's going through what we've all been through of, like, I need to be still in the public
But
eye?
I think what I see with him, though, yeah, he is staying in the public eye, right? He's doing all this stuff all over. I saw him the other day throwing a football at a drone.
Mr. Beast, yeah. We'll talk about that later in the show.
Yeah, so I think he's wise. Like, and a lot of these guys, like a Boomer Esiason or the Manning brothers, they keep him busy. They don't need it for the money. They need it just for the stand. And I'm sure a little bit is ego, too, right? They do want to be in the public eye as well.
But those guys are set. They're already set. It's the meat and potatoes guys. Like, what do they do? They get that pulled away. Then what are they? And that's where we see a lot of these guys have depression issues because it's like they got this thing taken away, and now what? Yeah. And it really bruises the ego.
Is it easier now than previously? Like, is the NHL setting up like systems in place, or is it just like word of mouth? Like, hey, like talk to Tom or someone like Tom.
Well, there is systems there that they try to help the guys, but they try to help them when they're younger, so they prepare for that. And ideally, that's what you should do. So when you're early and you're making in your career, you're making money, you're going to be in the league for 10, 15 years. That's when you should really start. But we don't. You can sit now and say like, this is what you should do, but I wouldn't have done it.
The NFL does that. Why is there no more? Why does the NHL not do
it's there, but again, it's getting the guys to do it because we think part of why we're successful is that we think we're going to play forever. We're invincible. Yeah. So if we think we're going to play forever, then why are we preparing for the day that you're not going to play?
This is depressing as heck.
No, but it does make a lot of sense because that's the skill that you've built your entire life, and only a certain amount of people can be like, oh, I'm going to be an announcer now. Oh, I'm going to be like a commentator.
I mean, when they took away male modeling from me, I was lost. I didn't know what to do next. You
went to roller hockey.
Yeah. Can we talk about the Stanley Cup itself, though? The playoffs. What are you thinking of the series in the playoffs thus far?
Well, I think by far Vegas is the best team. Because I give Florida a lot of credit. I think if Bobrovsky had played the way he can all the time, that they'd have a chance of winning. He didn't do that. That's his history. Is that sometimes he's fantastic, other times he just doesn't show up.
Yeah.
Kachuk is clearly. I think he's banged up a little bit, but he's
definitely hurt.
Yeah, if he kept going the way he was going, he would have been the MVP of the playoffs. But.
Yeah. Do you think that because like the Panthers had such an amazing run taking out the Bruins, everything like that, if they lose this Stanley Cup, is this all for nothing?
No, because I think it's a big step because nobody really thought that they were going to go this far. They had that President's Trophy winning team last year. That's the champions in the league, the regular season, and then they got beat out in the playoffs fairly early. So now they come back in a year where people don't think they're going to win, and now they go to the finals. So I think it's a good step in the right direction for them because they do have a good young hockey team.
Yeah. So they're a great team. But it's not over yet. They came back against Boston.
Yeah, but no one's come back from 3-1 since 1942.
Well,
it's over.
But they came back against Boston. They did that. So I don't know.
My question, about like the Panthers, like specifically, at the end of the game, at a certain point in the series, you realize, hey, we're down. We're probably not going to get it. We maybe start to play a little bit of like the mental game, like fighting and stuff like more hitting a little bit more. Kachuk was clearly trying to get into Aiden Hill's head at certain points. Do you see this next game being ejection after ejection? At what point?
I heard you said that. I don't think it's going to be because I think this is it for Florida. If they get carried away with bad penalties like they have in the past, they've got no chance of winning. So they've really got to come out and play hard, but they can't be taking all the bad penalties.
Do we think the future of the NHL? We got 3 stars that I'm kind of thinking about now. We got Connor McDavid, obviously, maybe could potentially be the second greatest hockey player of all time. We got Connor Bedard coming out, into the draft, the clear number 1. They're comparing him to Eric Lindros, and then you got Matthew Tkachuk, which is the guy's like energy, energy play. Who do we see? What do we see their futures being like? What is their run going to be like in your mind?
Well, that's the great thing for the National Hockey League. Back when I played, young players came in and they really had to kind of bide their time, right? Not big stars right away. I didn't turn pro until I was 21 or 22 years old. These kids now are coming in at 18 years old, and I got to tell you, it's amazing for them to do that. The maturity level to do that. So there's a whole bunch of players like that in the National Hockey League around the league. That's the difference in the league, and I think that's fantastic for it. Because as much as it's a different game from when I played, and obviously I love that game, today's game is so much more attractive to fans. Right? You go to Madison Square Garden, we were talking about it before there, and watch a game, you just get hooked on it right away.
Yeah.
So
what is the NHL's issue with marketing these players? Because there should be, like, I should be looking at a Kachuk in the same way that
It's
people
so
are looking at like a LeBron.
You're literally, yesterday, me and Tom spent about 20 minutes talking about this exact
We
thing.
did.
Really?
Like literally,
Because for me, hopping into hockey brand new this year, Aton came in and was like, I know this guy and that guy and this, I've been following this for years, but like, in my mind, I should have been able to put face to name. I should have been like, oh, I at least saw that guy in a commercial. I at least saw this guy here. Why why are we not seeing players?
What
like
else
that?
could the NHL
I
be
think
doing?
they're starting to get it. They're just taking baby steps. I think they will get there. And a guy like Kachuk is great. He's media savvy. He's energetic. He's charming. He's a face of what he is.
Yep.
He's a good-looking man. No offense, but he's
He's the come on, he's the Tom Laidlaw of this generation.
Jack,
you
that's a
know?
good point, though. So I sit up here and I talk now. I never would have talked like this when I was playing the game.
Really?
You're kind of taught to be a team guy. You're quiet and calm. You don't want to stir the pot too much. Now I've realized, well, no, I want to be loud and I want to be talking about stuff. But players don't do that. It's rare. PK Subban, we saw do that a little bit. That is rare for a player.
Is this like an overtime thing? As society is becoming more vocal, the players are becoming more vocal?
I think it goes back to what Tom said, though. It's like these guys are generally Canadian farm boys, so they're taught discipline, team. They're keep quiet and
Be humble, yeah.
Be humble, which
Yeah.
you clearly mastered that.
Starts the conversation talking about pooping in the ocean.
I used to be humble. Yeah.
And so do you think that this a good thing or a bad thing, giving like younger players the access to like this stuff? Do you think that there should be a little bit more of like a maturing period and stuff like that?
Oh, well, it depends on the player. There's been some guys that come in too early at 18 years old. When I was 18, I was going to college. I just moved away from home for the first time. So, yeah, but these young kids now, not only are they getting the physical training, learning how to eat properly, but it's also the life training, too, the mental health stuff that we didn't even know about back when we played.
But
So,
it's changing though, Tom, because they're growing up. They're social media natives. They're growing up with this. They know they know how to sell themselves, and I think you see a lot more of that.
Yeah.
I think the NHL is just taking a long time, but they'll get there. They're taking baby steps. But you're right. I'm with you. They should be throwing these guys out there in your face all the time.
Well, if there was one thing you could tell the NHL to start doing now for that, what would it be?
They could hire me and buy my shows.
Yeah, there it is.
There
I
it
want
is.
to say, by the way, they got to change the All-Star skills competition. 1,000% needs to be
100%.
cooler.
they do keep changing it all the time. They're trying to find the right.
They need it back in the 90s, stuff like that. And
With that, we got to go to a quick commercial break. We'll be right back with more Sports Talk Game Breakers right after this, baby.
Tom Laidlaw,
everybody.
Tom Smith.
Hoop in the ocean.
Look at this.
Hoop in the ocean.
In the ocean. My favorite song. Tommy, thanks
go.
for the trophy.